Oprah Winfrey rose from poverty to become one of the most influential and beloved media figures in history. Her story is often seen as a testament to resilience and the promise of the American dream. But today, as a new generation begins to look deeper beneath the surface, a far more complicated story about Oprah's legacy is emerging. Critics wonder if her message might have had harmful consequences that we're only now beginning to understand. The controversies are undeniable. From promoting pseudo-science and elevating questionable figures to facing backlash over her philanthropic efforts, Oprah's once pristine reputation is no longer untouchable. In this video, we'll explore Oprah's meteoric rise, her cultural influence, the contradictions and shortcomings in her philosophy, and the controversial moments that damaged her public image. Along the way, we'll uncover what her story reveals about the values that shaped an era and why those values may have become outdated. Does the philosophy that made Oprah a cultural icon still hold up, or has it caused more harm than good? Oprah's ability to build trust with her audience was one of the key factors behind her immense influence. But in today's digital world, protecting trust has never been more important. This is where Aura, the sponsor of today's video, comes in. In 2023 and 2024, over 2.9 billion records were compromised during a national public data breach. Aura is a comprehensive digital safety app that helps protect your identity, finances, and online activity. With Aura, you'll get alerted in minutes if someone tries to open a credit card or loan in your name. Their identity theft protection monitors billions of data points across the dark web and public court records to detect signs of fraud. Aura's VPN provides military-grade encryption to keep your internet browsing secure and protect you from scam and phishing websites. Aura also includes credit score monitoring, so you can track your financial health and stay ahead of any suspicious changes to your credit report. Don't leave yourself and your family vulnerable. Go to aura.com/thegroove or scan the QR code to try Aura free for 2 weeks. Take control of your digital safety with Aura today. To understand how Oprah became such a powerful figure, we have to go back to 1984 when she became the host of AM Chicago. What happened next would change not just her life, but the entire landscape of American media.
Everybody loves Oprah.
You mean me?
She's fun, she's hip, she's really got her style.
Morning. I'm Oprah, and welcome to AM Chicago.
Oprah Winfrey's meteoric rise in the media landscape began on January 2nd, 1984, when she took over as host of AM Chicago, a struggling half-hour morning talk show on WLS-TV. Within months, her authentic approach and relatable personality transformed the program and catapulted it from last place to first place in local Chicago ratings. This remarkable turnaround caught the attention of movie critic Roger Ebert, who convinced her to syndicate her show nationally. On September 8th, 1986, The Oprah Winfrey Show debuted in national syndication.
I'm Oprah Winfrey, and welcome to the very first National Oprah Winfrey Show!
But Oprah's path to success was far from smooth.
Every single person, with the exception of my closest friend Gail, said to me, "You're not going to make it." Because, let's face it, there was nobody who looked like me.
As a plus-size African-American woman in a predominantly white, male-dominated industry, she faced skepticism. Many insiders doubted her ability to appeal to a broad audience, especially in suburban and rural markets.
Assistant news director came to me and said, "You know, your hair is too long, it's too thick, your eyes are too far apart, your nose is too wide, and your chin's too long, and you need to do something about it."
To top it all, the talk show space was already crowded, with Phil Donahue reigning as the pioneer of the tabloid-style genre. Initially, Oprah Winfrey modeled her show's format after his. Much like him, she would address controversial topics and roam the audience with a microphone to let people speak, which was a formula Phil Donahue had pioneered with his talk show. Just a few days after its debut, the Los Angeles Times' Howard Rosenberg dismissed her show as little more than lowbrow Donahue. She's less articulate, cerebral, and polished than Donahue, but more explosive and unpredictable. Some mocked how the show often focused on dramatic and shocking stories.
I got to see your program yesterday.
You did?
Satanic dismemberment.
Well,
Is that happening a lot now?
see,
Now,
but other critics reluctantly acknowledged that some aspects of Oprah Winfrey's raw and real approach felt quite unique. Oprah Winfrey didn't simply copy Phil Donahue's formula, she redefined the genre. The 1970s feminist movement had cracked open the doors of the private sphere and challenged the idea that personal struggles like divorce, depression, and abuse were taboo or too intimate for public discussion. Oprah capitalized on this shift and transformed daytime television into a space where personal troubles could be openly explored.
See why it's so easy to get involved with Oprah.
So your husband would lock you in the basement every morning and you would let him?
Yes, I did, because I loved him.
People tell Oprah what they feel.
Just because of his drinking, I'll never forgive him.
And Oprah understands.
And that's why I left, because I didn't want to die. I just wanted a break. I wanted my kids to have a good life.
Getting involved with the Oprah Winfrey Show, it's easy.
Thursday at 10.
Within its first year of national broadcast, Oprah's show had become the #1 talk show in America, doubling the viewership of Phil Donahue in nationwide ratings. To millions, Oprah Winfrey wasn't just a talk show host. She was living proof of a powerful idea. Born into poverty in Mississippi, Oprah was a cultural pioneer, breaking barriers as a Black woman in media and becoming one of the first to control her content through her production company, Harpo. Her ascent coincided with the rise of the African-American middle class in the 1970s and 1980s, a pivotal period in U.S. history. Following the civil rights movement, more Black Americans gained access to higher education, professional opportunities, and home ownership. This economic and social mobility allowed for the emergence of a Black middle class, which became an economic force that redefined the American dream. Oprah became a reflection of this progress. Her relatability resonated deeply with an audience eager to see themselves represented in spaces of power and influence. For Black audiences in particular, Oprah was seen as the proof that systemic barriers could be overcome, a validation of their aspirations during a time of new social and economic opportunity. As Oprah's career soared, her story became emblematic of a larger cultural shift taking place in the US and the UK, where the ethos of individual success began to overshadow collective action. The 80s and 90s were defined by the rise of neoliberalism, a political and economic framework that reoriented not just economies, but the very way people understood success, failure, and the role of the individual in society. Neoliberalism emphasized free market capitalism, minimal government intervention, and personal responsibility as the keys to prosperity. At its core, neoliberalism shifted the focus from collective welfare to individual effort by promoting the idea that people's circumstances, whether wealth or poverty, were mainly the result of personal choices rather than structural forces. This ideology didn't just shape policy. It permeated social values, entertainment, and self-perception. Oprah's own story became emblematic of this shift. Her life story suggested that determination, grit, and hard work could overcome even the steepest obstacles. The cultural dominance of neoliberalism also coincided with the explosion of the self-help movement. Figures like Tony Robbins, Stephen Covey, and Deepak Chopra became household names, selling millions of books and seminars that promised personal transformation through discipline, mindset shifts, and self-awareness.
This and more on how you can master your finances, your emotions, and your life are here for you now in Personal Power with Anthony Robbins.
Bestsellers like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or Awaken the Giant Within provided step-by-step blueprints for achieving success, happiness, and wealth, often rooted in the neoliberal ethos of personal responsibility and self-reliance.
There's no question about Tony Robbins' skills in teaching people success principles. The only question that a person listening can have is, can I do it? And Tony Robbins makes it simple enough that anybody can do it.
In the 90s, Oprah Winfrey started embracing and amplifying these ideas. Her highly successful talk show became one of the self-help movement's most powerful platforms as it blended emotional connection with actionable advice. This new format positioned Oprah as a guide for millions. The 90s were a decade of rapid change, marked by globalization and the erosion of traditional safety nets. Community structures that once provided support weakened, leaving individuals increasingly responsible for navigating their challenges alone. Oprah's philosophy of self-help offered a sense of agency and hope in this uncertain world.
you're given choice. So in every day, you have the opportunity to make choices that determine your
create
destiny.
the world that you live in, or make the world better that you live in.
It's a sad day when you find out that it's not accident or time or fortune, but just yourself that kept things from you.
For viewers grappling with alienation, financial strain, or personal crises, her teachings promised that stability and success were within their control if only they looked inward, worked harder, and adapted to the circumstances. The message resonated because it told people what they wanted to hear, that no matter the external forces at play, they had the power to change their circumstances. Soon enough, Oprah's messaging turned into a lucrative business model that aligned personal growth with consumer choices.
Our first book to read, it is a novel written by Jacqueline Machard. It is called Deep End of the Ocean. Y'all are gonna have to buy it.
In 1996, she launched Oprah's Book Club, a phenomenon that revolutionized the publishing industry. Her endorsements could transform obscure or struggling books into bestsellers overnight. That same year, Oprah debuted another hallmark of her empire, My Favorite Things. The segment began as a whimsical way to share products Oprah personally loved. But what started as a lighthearted holiday segment quickly grew into a commercial juggernaut. Each year, My Favorite Things became a highly anticipated event showcasing carefully curated products Oprah claimed to adore. From luxury candles to high-tech gadgets, audience members received all the featured items for free, but the segment's reach extended far beyond the studio and drove massive sales for the featured brands. At first glance, My Favorite Things seemed like a joyful celebration of gifting and indulgence. But by tying happiness, comfort, and connection to consumer products, the segment implicitly suggested that personal fulfillment could be achieved through the things you buy.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. You're gonna faint. Hold on. Calm down.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Just keep moving. You're good.
Oh, my clothes are
Okay, you're good.
This was consistent with Oprah's broader enterprise, which often framed self-improvement as an individual journey supported by a set of purchasable tools. Whether it was a transformative book from her book club or a must-have item from My Favorite Things, Oprah's brand-centered consumption as a pathway to better living.
Today is your lucky day. Ho, ho, ho!
By integrating consumption into the fabric of empowerment, Oprah's brand mirrored the values of a world increasingly shaped by market logic, where solutions to life's challenges were commodified and sold.
Song of Solomon! She's come undone. It is called Stones from the River, the heart of a woman.
As media scholar Janice Peck describes it, Oprah's enterprise was an ensemble of ideological practices that help legitimize a world of growing inequality and shrinking possibilities by promoting and embodying a configuration of self compatible with that world. Nowhere was this clearer than in O, the Oprah magazine, launched in 2000. The magazine, which sold out its first print run of 850,000 copies and reached 2.7 million in circulation within 3 years, was designed to help women see every experience and challenge as an opportunity to grow and discover their best self. Does your 60-hour-a-week desk job make your back hurt and leave you emotionally exhausted and stressed? Of course it does. But you can dull these effects and improve your wellness with these O-approved strategies. Become more of an out-of-the-box thinker because creative people are healthier. Bring photos, posters, and kitschy figurines to decorate your workspace. You'll feel less emotionally exhausted and reduce burnout. Write down 3 positive things that happen during your workday to reduce stress and physical pain from work. Similarly, O's December 2013 issue on anxiety prescribed books as a form of bibliotherapy. Feeling claustrophobic because you're too poor to move out of your parents' house? Read Little House on the Prairie. Feeling stressed because your current project at work is ending and you don't have another lined up? Read The Man Who Planted Trees. Worried that you won't be able to pay the rent because you just lost your job? Read the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles. Through all her platforms, Oprah Winfrey turned self-help into a successful business and persuaded millions that they were always one purchase away from their better self. However, Oprah's immense power began to attract criticism and skepticism when her promotional efforts ventured into matters of health and spirituality. While she was widely celebrated for promoting empowerment and personal transformation, her endorsements occasionally veered into controversial territory and drew accusations that she was legitimizing pseudoscience and New Age philosophies.
What you're saying is that we all, human beings here on Earth, create our own reality.
We do.
We create our own circumstances.
Yes.
We create our own circumstances by the choices that we make.
Yes.
And the choices that we make are fueled by our thoughts.
One of the most notable controversies came in 2006 when Oprah enthusiastically promoted The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. The book and its accompanying documentary popularized the law of attraction, which claimed that positive thinking could directly shape reality. Oprah's support for the concept helped propel The Secret into the cultural mainstream, turning it into a multi-million-dollar phenomenon. But it also sparked widespread criticism from skeptics, scientists, and medical professionals who warned that it encouraged magical thinking. The backlash against The Secret took on a darker tone when stories emerged of individuals applying its teachings to critical medical decisions. Kim Tinkham, a breast cancer patient, became a highly publicized example. After watching Oprah's shows about The Secret, she wrote to Oprah's producers, explaining that she had decided to forgo chemotherapy and instead follow the book's advice literally. Oprah invited her onto her show to urge her not to disregard the benefits of conventional medical treatment. She stated clearly that she did not endorse using The Secret as a substitute for professional care. Despite this, Kim Tinkham chose to pursue an alternative treatment called the pH Miracle. Tragically, she passed away in December 2010. For many critics, Tinkham's case highlighted the potential dangers of Oprah's approach. In amplifying transformative philosophies like The Secret, she inadvertently legitimized practices that lacked scientific basis and, in extreme cases, could lead to life-threatening decisions. But the controversy surrounding The Secret wasn't the only instance where Oprah's endorsements led to devastating consequences. Beyond books, she also elevated individuals who went on to become trusted authorities, sometimes with troubling results. Dr. Phil McGraw first appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show in the late 1990s, where his straightforward, no-nonsense approach to personal issues quickly captivated audiences. Oprah invited him to appear regularly on her show and eventually helped him launch his own program, Dr. Phil, in 2002. For many years, Dr. Phil was seen as a trusted authority on mental health and family struggles, but his career has been marred by many controversies that call the ethics of his approach into question. Dr. Phil has been accused of exploiting vulnerable guests for ratings, particularly individuals struggling with mental health issues or substance abuse. He faced backlash for visiting Britney Spears in the hospital in 2008 without her consent and then publicly commenting on her condition, which violated her privacy. Beyond these personal incidents, his recommendations have also raised concerns. He was criticized for promoting Turnabout Ranch, a youth treatment facility later accused of abuse. And in 2022, former employees of his show alleged that the workplace fostered a toxic culture marked by verbal abuse, intimidation, and racism. These controversies tarnished Dr. Phil's credibility and raised significant ethical questions about Oprah's role in legitimizing his career. Dr. Mehmet Oz's rise followed a similar path. Introduced on Oprah's show in 2004, he was presented as a relatable yet knowledgeable health expert who could simplify complex medical topics for everyday audiences. Over the years, Dr. Oz appeared more than 60 times on Oprah's show and became its official health expert. His popularity eventually led to the launch of the Dr. Oz Show in 2009. And much like Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz's career has been clouded by controversy, this time for promoting pseudoscience and unproven medical treatments. In 2014, he was summoned before a Senate subcommittee for endorsing miracle weight loss products that lacked any scientific basis. Lawmakers accused him of misleading the public for financial gain. Dr. Oz also made unsubstantiated claims about cancer prevention when he advocated for selenium supplements and specific foods without robust medical evidence.
Are you a doctor or an Old West travelling salesman? Have I got something miraculous for you, ladies and gentlemen? A monkey's paw mixed with 5 petals of a rose and a thimble full of otter semen.
His endorsement of energy medicine and other dubious therapies further blurred the line between legitimate medical advice and sensationalism. These actions not only damaged his reputation, but also eroded public trust in medical professionals and left many to question the ethical implications of Oprah's role in launching his career. But perhaps the most disturbing case of all involves João Teixeira de Faria, known as John of God, a Brazilian faith healer whom Oprah featured on her show in 2010 and again in 2013. Oprah's glowing portrayal of him as a spiritual healer significantly boosted his international profile and brought him credibility and fame. But years later, John of God was convicted of horrific crimes. Over 600 women accused him of sexual abuse, including minors. Even more shocking were allegations that he ran a baby trafficking ring where women were held as sex slaves and their children were sold internationally. The extent of his exploitation spanned decades, preying on the most vulnerable individuals who sought him out for spiritual and physical healing. The enormity of his crimes left many questioning how someone like Oprah, with her reputation for discernment and wisdom, could have given such a man her stamp of approval. More recently, Oprah's influence as a cultural tastemaker has also sparked controversy over where she directs her spotlight. Her promotion of Leaving Neverland, a documentary that centered on allegations against Michael Jackson, reignited a heated public debate about his legacy. Similarly, Gayle King's now iconic 2019 interview with R. Kelly went viral for its fearless confrontation of another entertainer accused of abuse.
Fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career.
These moments positioned Oprah and her close associates as prominent advocates for accountability, particularly regarding abuse allegations in the entertainment industry. But these actions stand in stark contrast to her relatively subdued approach toward figures like Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, whose abuses were systemic and often protected by vast networks of wealth and privilege. Harvey Weinstein had been a public associate of Oprah, with images of the two together at events circulating widely during the height of his influence. When allegations against him emerged in 2017, Oprah issued a carefully worded statement supporting the Me Too movement, but stopped short of publicly denouncing him with the same vigor she and Gayle King later applied to Michael Jackson and R. Kelly. In the case of Jeffrey Epstein, she never made any public statement. Most troubling is the case of John of God, the Brazilian faith healer Oprah had featured on her show in 2010 and 2013. Following the revelations that he was a sex trafficker, Oprah issued a short statement and quietly deleted interviews with him from her website, but avoided any further discussion of her role in amplifying his profile. The discrepancies between these cases raise difficult questions about Oprah's selective advocacy. Why does she seem more willing to amplify allegations against Black men like Michael Jackson and R. Kelly than against wealthy, predominantly white men like Weinstein, Epstein, and John of God? Some argue that her choices reflect a broader cultural pattern in which Black figures face harsher scrutiny and swifter public condemnation than their white counterparts. Others suggest that Oprah's choices may be pragmatic. The entertainment industry, where she remains an influential figure, is deeply intertwined with the legacies of men like Weinstein. Openly denouncing such figures might alienate powerful allies and expose the systemic structures that sustain not only her career, but the broader entertainment ecosystem. By contrast, addressing cases involving Black men may feel safer, particularly when these figures are already the subjects of public vilification or have already passed away. Her selective focus raises questions about whose stories are given priority and why. And unfortunately, the optics of amplifying allegations against Black men while treading carefully around powerful white men reinforce perceptions of unequal scrutiny. This tension between Oprah's immense influence and the selective ways she's wielded it forces a reevaluation of her role as a trusted voice. And social media has become the perfect stage for this critique. Oprah Winfrey's rise took place in an era of centralized media power. During the 80s and 90s, figures like Oprah held significant cultural authority as their images were carefully curated and mediated by traditional platforms like television, print, and radio. Oprah's influence was amplified by her ability to control her narrative and present herself as a symbol of authenticity. But the rise of social media has fundamentally altered how cultural figures are perceived and critiqued. Platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram allow anyone to revisit and scrutinize moments from the past. For older generations, figures like Oprah represented a kind of aspirational authority, someone to look up to and emulate. But for Gen Z, the very concept of a singular, untouchable icon feels outdated. This reveals how little control Oprah actually has over her personal narrative in the era of social media. Now more than ever, the ideas that made Oprah a cultural icon are facing their biggest test yet. Oprah's ascent as a Black woman breaking barriers in a predominantly white industry was groundbreaking, but it also fit neatly into the neoliberal worldview, which celebrates extraordinary individual success while obscuring the systemic barriers that most people cannot overcome. Her story suggests that systemic problems, whether racism or sexism, can be transcended through sheer determination and personal transformation. Yet for every Oprah, countless others are left in obscurity while we focus on singular icons of progress. Now that we're in the aftermath of neoliberalism's heyday, its long-term consequences are becoming clearer. Policies emphasizing deregulation, privatization, and austerity have contributed to rising wealth inequality, environmental degradation, and the erosion of public safety nets. Wealth, far from being earned anew in each generation, is preserved and expanded through generous tax laws, inherited capital, and the transmission of social and cultural privileges. The idea that each and every one of us is the master of their fate is increasingly seen as a myth, with neoliberal systems entrenching privilege for the few while leaving the majority to navigate a precarious existence. Against this backdrop, Oprah's emphasis on individual transformation feels increasingly inadequate. As one critique puts it, the way Oprah tells us to get through it all and realize our dreams is always to adapt ourselves to the changing world, not to change the world we live in. This perspective demands little from systems or institutions, but everything from individuals. It asks us to reconfigure our own behaviors and attitudes rather than address the economic and political systems driving inequality, alienation, and precarity. This critique is amplified by Oprah's systematic commodification of self-help, which positions consumerism as a means to empowerment.
Of course, I still believe in books. And you can go to any bookstore and you can buy the book, like always.
For Gen Z who prioritize accessible mental health care, this form of empowerment feels hollow and exclusionary. The mindless consumerism of Oprah's favorite things is still felt in how consumer products are marketed not just as practical tools, but as symbols of belonging and self-care. Owning the right product becomes a way to feel good and to connect with others. Yet, as with Oprah's empire, these solutions are ultimately individualistic, commodified, and disconnected from the collective action needed to address the root causes of discontent. While Oprah's philosophy gave hope to millions in an earlier era, it now serves as a reminder of the limitations of a worldview that prioritizes individual success over collective progress. But as Gen Z scrutinizes her legacy, one critique rises above all: her immense wealth and the questionable decisions she's made with her power. Oprah Winfrey's billionaire status, once celebrated as a symbol of breaking barriers, now faces sharp criticism from a generation grappling with the realities of wealth inequality. For Gen Z, who grew up in the shadow of the 2008 financial crisis and inherited an economy marked by stagnant wages, student debt, housing crises, and corporate monopolies, extreme wealth isn't just a marker of success. It's a reminder of systemic injustice. The 2023 Maui wildfire crisis exposed the inherent contradictions of celebrity wealth and philanthropy. Oprah, who owns over 1,000 acres of land in Maui, faced backlash after locals encountered barriers at the entrance to her gated property while trying to escape the fires. Although Oprah wasn't present at the time, this incident highlighted broader frustrations about wealthy individuals owning vast tracts of land in Hawaii, while native Hawaiians struggle with access and affordability. In response to the fires, Oprah pledged to make a major donation and later partnered with Dwayne Johnson to launch the People's Fund of Maui. She gave $10 million and asked the public to contribute more money. But the gesture was met with widespread criticism. Many questioned why two of the wealthiest celebrities in the world, with a combined net worth of nearly $4 billion, were soliciting donations from an economically struggling public. Others viewed Oprah's $10 million contribution as insufficient, particularly given the scale of the devastation. Calls for her to give back the land she purchased to native Hawaiians added further complexity, as it invoked Hawaii's colonial history and the ethics of land ownership in a region marked by a colonial history of displacement and inequality. The controversy revealed a painful truth. No matter how well-intentioned, Oprah's philanthropy cannot address the deep inequalities that the systems of extreme wealth she's involved in create and sustain. Her rise to prominence has involved navigating elite systems that often demand difficult trade-offs. This tension is evident in controversies surrounding her decisions within the entertainment industry. The feud between Oprah and actress Monique highlights where Oprah's narrative of empowerment ends. In 2010, Monique refused to perform additional unpaid promotional work for the film Precious, citing exploitation. She later accused Oprah, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels of blackballing her in Hollywood, a claim that damaged Oprah's reputation among those who viewed her as an advocate for fairness and equity. Oprah herself refused to address the situation and claimed she did so to shield herself from negativity. The controversy deepened when Monique revealed that Oprah had invited her brother, who had sexually abused her as a child, to appear on The Oprah Winfrey Show without Monique's full consent. Similarly, allegations surrounding the production of The Color Purple remake in 2023 raised concerns about Oprah's complicity in systemic inequities within Hollywood. Taraji P. Henson publicly criticized the working conditions on set, citing low pay, inadequate amenities, and unsafe transportation arrangements.
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost.
These revelations, coupled with broader concerns about pay disparities for Black actors, painted a picture of an industry where even projects helmed by advocates for equity failed to uphold the values they promoted. Although Oprah claimed she was initially unaware of these issues and took steps to address them once informed, the damage to her image had already been done. These incidents symbolize how concentrated power can perpetuate exploitation, even when held by figures who position themselves as champions of marginalized communities. At the heart of all these critiques lies a generational reckoning with the contradictions of Oprah's persona. Her billionaire status, philanthropic endeavors, and business decisions all reflect a broader tension between individual success and collective responsibility. The compromises she made within systems of power reveal the limitations of the individual empowerment narrative she's perpetuated throughout her career, particularly in industries and structures that thrive on inequality. But Oprah's impact is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. What happens when celebrity influence extends into politics? Watch this next video to find out how celebrities have ruined presidential elections.